you please just give us a brief description of Beans and why this particular and personal story was so important for you to tell, especially as a narrative?
Absolutely. So Beans is a coming of age drama of a 12-year-old Mohawk girl that takes place during an Indigenous uprising that has been since now termed the Oka Crisis. This is something that really did happen up here in Canada 30 years ago within my community, and I was 12 years old when I lived through that. So the story is really my coming of age journey, condensed into one summer. And it was really going from innocent childhood to that much more complicated space of adolescence. But a whole other level was, as an Indigenous woman, understanding that in the bigger world that was not something that was necessarily welcome or safe to be. And then how do you process that and figure out your place in that bigger world? In terms of why the narrative and why coming of age, I have a few reasons for that. One, what people know about this event, at least up here in Canada and really around the world, nobody I don't think knows about it at all. It was all really understood through the news media, and that news media was very biased. It was a very outsider perspective, and as a young girl going through it, what I was seeing on the news really didn't match up at all to the experience I was having on the inside. My neighbors, my family were being labeled as terrorists, and I didn't understand how that could be. So I really wanted to take people inside to experience it from at least my perspective and that of my family, and to do so through a child. Because these kinds of events, the damage that they can have on a young person that then affects their entire life, really, it's so destructive, and it can be just a cycle. And we have to stop that cycle. And that responsibility lies with us as adults, as people who have influence in this society. So I hoped to nail home that point by having us all remember what it's like to be a child, and that we hold a great responsibility for their future. Yeah, so I'm now sort of going off on all these different points, but that's why I wanted to do this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it's remarkable to see such a tumultuous event through the eye of a child. And this film really makes you, especially as an adult, I think, take a step back. And it's a huge reminder of, how our surroundings and everything that's going around us, at the end of the day, you still have a 12-year-old impressionable young woman who's going through just the terror of being just a young woman in the world, on top of these horrific events that are taking place. Speaking of Kiawentiio, how was it, you're playing not only a young 12-year-old girl, but figuring out who she wants to be, like we all do when we're that age, but during, these turbulent times. How do you feel like the events surrounding her kind of force her to grow up faster in a way?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit on playing the part of all that happening. I think it both was helpful and was scary that the story was kind of based on my director. I think it helped a lot because, it came from, her heart and her experiences. So she could tell me what she was feeling at the time, of these traumatic scenes. And the whole movie was like that, I felt. But it was also scary because I didn't want to, mess it up or not be able to deliver exactly how she wanted. So it was almost like hand in hand, really helpful, but also very scary.
What a beautiful experience for the two of you, I can imagine. I found one of the most powerful moments for me was when Beans's mother, Lily, kind of fully pregnant, joins a group of women to peacefully protest, creating a line between the two barricades of armed men. Tracey, how does this film touch upon different perceptions of strength?
I think, I mean, strength is definitely a massive theme in the film, and a woman's strength, both from a young perspective of our young protagonists, but also of, I mean, really the adult is the mom. You know, I grew up surrounded by these strong women, and it was just very natural for me to grow into the woman I am, into an expectation of leadership, because I'm surrounded by women who lead. And it was only once I left my community that I saw that that's not actually how it is everywhere else. So I really wanted to showcase what it could be, and to celebrate these strong Mohawk women, and provide role models really for not only our Indigenous audience out there, to celebrate the strength we have in our communities, but also to show people the power of a matriarchal society.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Kiawentiio, how was that? Like, that was such a turning point, I think, for Beans, seeing her mother display that sort of strength, because up until that point, she's sort of reacting, she's seeing the violence, and she's kind of equating being strong with having to sort of punch or throw. And then she sees this beautiful display of strength. How do you think that is a turning point for your character Beans in the story?
Well, I think she's going through, in the moment of where that scene is and what she's going through at the time, I think she's taking in a lot of different ways to be powerful.
Yeah.
Even like on the way there, she's like practicing punching, right? And I don't know, I think it's just kind of like opening her eyes to different ways of being powerful.
Yeah. It's really, I just thought that was such a beautiful moment, and it reminded me of when I was kind of Beans's age. And I remember watching a lot of sort of women kicking ass in the traditional sense on television and wanting a punching bag for Christmas. And thinking that there weren't that many, which is, it's so great to see women physically kicking butt. However, that there aren't many depictions of women sort of having this internal strength on screen. And this movie does such a beautiful job at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can't wait for young women to see this film, to kind of relate to it and learn from it. This is kind of a different question, but in the opening scene, when Beans is interviewing at Queen Heights Academy, which is the private school she wants to attend, she says she wants to attend the school to become a lawyer or a doctor, when in reality, we find out she really wants to be an artist. You both are gifted artists and storytellers. What do you say to young women who are torn or frightened to pursue less conventional paths in their lives?
I say you have to go for it. We all have a fire inside of us, and it's so important to honor that fire. My mother instilled in me from a very early age that I can do anything I wanted. And so that is definitely what I want to put out there. You can do anything you want. And she also was very concerned about safety, security in the bigger world, and knew that being a doctor and being a lawyer comes with that safety and security. And so I think there are parents out there that very naturally encourage their children onto paths that they feel will keep them safe and secure. But I will say, I was 12 when I wanted to become a filmmaker, and when I thought I better tell my parents this. I was so afraid because I knew they had big expectations and big dreams for me. And when I told them over dinner that I wanted to be a filmmaker, of course I was 12. So they said, that's great, honey, wonderful. But I started crying and saying, no, you don't understand. I really, really mean it. I really want to do this. And I'm not going to be a doctor. And of course they were slightly put aback and a little uncomfortable. And they were like, no, it's really okay. And then I realized, what they really wanted from me, because I then started writing scripts and making movies, even at that young age.
Oh.
What was most important to them is that I was happy and fulfilled. And I do think that is the ultimate wish of parents, but they can be scared. And so it's up to you to defend what will make you happy and fulfilled. And it's out there. Every single job that you could possibly want, you don't have to be a writer director to be involved in the filmmaking. There's so many different jobs. If you want to be the person who specializes in making fire, like that's a job. So it's all out there. And I say just go for it and follow that dream all the way. And you're gonna hit some road bumps. I certainly have. But stick with it because it's worth it.
I love that. How inspiring. Kiawentiio, did you have that moment at the dinner table where you told your parents that you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I think they always kind of knew that I was more attracted to like creative things. And I'm really grateful to have such supportive parents. I think I was always kind of an artist. I was more traditionally like art, like painting and singing and all that. And acting is fairly new to me, but I kind of grew to love it. But I'm just in high school and I'm still trying to figure everything out, so I'm not really sure if I'm qualified to give advice, but I think what Tracey said is amazing.
I love that. And hey, you can still, and that's what the beauty of it. I think that, there's never there's never a right age to figure out what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
Can I jump in and say one extra thing? So in connection to what Kiawentiio just said, I mean, I believe fully that like her fire is artistic. And, she started as a painter, and then there was the opportunity to audition, not even for this film, it was for Anne with an E on Netflix. So she decided, let me try that. And there she went. And she's also a singer-songwriter. And she has, I just want to do a shout out. Her first album is about to come out this week. Yes. So, she's exploring all of these different ways at artistic expression. And she may continue to do all of them, or she may decide to sort of focus in and be like, nope, this is where I want to be. And that's what being young is all about, is exploring and figuring out what feeds that fire. And I'm so proud of this young woman. And I want to give a shout out to her parents as well, if they are in the room, because they are so supportive of her pursuits and her dreams. And yeah, I'm just so excited to see where she goes next.
Me too. So excited. I was telling her before you hopped on, Tracey, how her performance is just so remarkable and poignant. And oh gosh, I mean, the two of you, I think, have fed off of each other's fire and have created something truly beautiful. Before I let you go, I just, my one last question is, the best stories to me are always the ones that educate and create empathy, which, this is what Beans does. What do you both want audiences to walk away learning after watching this beautiful film?
So I think the big takeaway, I mean, there's many takeaways, but I think the big takeaway is that we all have a responsibility to make this world a safe and welcoming place for all people, especially Indigenous people, especially people of color, because of what we have suffered. We carry that suffering. through generations, and we have to change that. And it's all of our responsibility. So I hope that at the end of the film, people are in love with this young woman, in love with her family, relate to her, and leave the film thinking, what can I do to help this young girl and young girls like her? What can I do in my life? We all have tremendous influence. We all have our own superpowers within the scope of our life. So I hope to build allies, because definitely our communities, we need people's support. We need that backing in order for things to get better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. What about you?
Well, I definitely think there's a lot of resilience in the movie. You know, Beans goes through so much, and it seems like this is really hard to recover from. And of course, I'm sure it wasn't easy, but you know, at the end of the movie, she's a proud Mohawk woman, and I think there's just a lot of resilience there. It's also, it kind of makes you think about, this movie was back in 1990, and if you look at it today, it could possibly be from like this era, and it's kind of like a reflection of our society, and I hope people think about like how that shouldn't be right, you know, especially with things that have happened recently and in 2020, you know. I just really hope we reflect on our society and, you know, do better.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you for taking the time today. Thank you for your beautiful words and your beautiful film. And just stay safe out there. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Much love. Much love.
Bye.